It is the most wonderful time of the year, but besides the fact that we get to bake gingerbread cookies and watch Christmas movies, we also love December because it's that time where we are going to press that reset button in order for us to plan for a more beautiful and better year. But before we plan this new year, before we set new goals and a new vision for ourselves, it is so important for us to look back on our year in order to find the clues that we need to be able to make the most significant changes and improvements for 2025. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's reset for 2025. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Divya and today we're going to talk everything making 2025 our best year yet. And the first step to doing that is to look at our highlights and our lowlights this year. So what you want to do is to really look back on your year and identify the highlights and the lowlights of your year. To help you look back on your year and identify what were your highlights and your lowlights, you want to have a look at your camera roll or even your calendar to help you jog your memory a little bit. Your highlights are going to be the most happiest and joyful moments that you had this year, and your lowlights are going to be, the moments that did not go so well, where you felt a little bit down. And you're going to make a list of both your highlights and your lowlights, but what is really important here is for you to determine and define for yourself why were those moments, events, or people your highlights and why were they your lowlights? Why do you think, that event contributed to making you happier? And why did you think that, this memory contributed to making you feel down at that time, When I look back on my highlights this year, a common denominator for, those moments were the fact that I was surrounded by people that I truly cared and loved. And that told me a lot about myself, which was that social connections were actually really, really important to me, and that they helped make me feel so much more joyful. They helped fill my cup a lot. So I know that going into 2025, I need to make sure that I do, water those relationships that helped me so much. Same for my lowlights. When I look back at them, they were often caused by, and I'm so ashamed to say this, but they were often caused by procrastination, especially on administrative tasks. I'm just feeling so ashamed when I'm saying this right now, but every time that I have to do an administrative stuff, whether it is financial, bank related, etc., I just don't like doing them. I mean, who does? But I will just put it away, and at some point it will just be so big in my mind that will cause me actual stress and anxiety, when it could really be solved in a few minutes if I just did the thing. And that is something that I truly want to be better at next year. I do not want to procrastinate that much on administrative things, because although they are not the most fun task, they do take a lot of my peace and my mind space, and it's mind space that I can use for something else. So 2025, I'm going to be on top of things. The next thing that you want to do is to identify the one bad habit that is really pulling you down. All right, so the way that I see it is that, if we list all our bad habits, there's probably 20% of them creating 80% of the havoc in your life. And if you eliminate that 20%, it will just liberate some space, energy, and time for you to do other things and for you to really progress in your life. And I love the saying that goes, nothing changes if nothing changes, which means that if you just keep doing the same things, if you just keep doing the same bad habits, you can't really expect any different outcomes that you have right now. And we all want change for 2025, right? We all want to improve every single day of our lives. And so what you're going to do is to really list out all of your bad habits, all right? And try to figure out what are the real consequences of each and every one of them. And you will find out what is the one bad habit that has the most consequences, that if you remove that little domino, well, your life is going to be so much more smoother and it's going to be so much more fulfilling. And I think this is not that easy of an exercise, because sometimes we might be a little bit attached to our bad habits. And I am talking out of experiences. I am again ashamed to admit it, but one of, I think, my biggest bad habits that is just really holding me back is my phone. Unfortunately, for some reason, I pick up my phones so many times during the day, and it is really out of bad habit because I don't really have a reason to be checking my phones that many times during the day, but I just do it out of habit again. And the number of times that then I would just be lost in my phone is just too many. And in the end, when I look back at my screen time, I am always shocked because that screen time is wasted time, right? There was no intent into going to my phone in the first place. So any time that I'm wasting on it is just time gone that I won't have back, and that could have been invested into something that would be much more fulfilling in my life. And another habit that is related to my phone is that, very often, even if I say that I am doing light work, I am putting something in the background, whether it is like a YouTube video or a TV show that I've watched like countless times. I just put it in the background because it just makes it easier for me to do that light work. And in reality, I think that obviously this is diminishing my focus when I am doing that work. Although it is light work, if I had my full focus, I would take less time doing that, and therefore I could be freeing up much more time to do other things that would actually bring me a lot more, right? So, if I eliminate my phone from the equation, I know that at the end of the day, I'll have so much more time to focus on creating videos, on editing videos, and just like even investing more time in my hobbies that I think will bring me so much more value in my life than if I was just like, going around in my phone in circles very often. This is just me being very vulnerable and real with you guys, but that is also your sign to when you're listing those bad habits, don't hold back because they are holding you back. So be very real with you and honest as to which of those habits that you really need to work on removing from the equation in order for you to find the best results for next year. When I first realized that my phone was my worst habit, I started making excuses for it. And I was like, oh no, but if I'm doing light work, this is really not disturbing me. My productivity levels are the same. But I know deep down that, things would definitely change if I just put my phone away. So something that I am going to do next year is to have, not next year, starting now, is to have like work hours for my phone, right? To have very specific times to being on my phone and checking my phone, because in all honesty, I don't need to have it with me all the time, and it is, at this point, it's not really helping me, it is hurting me. So I just need to be able to face that truth and work on it. So I am trusting you to put aside your worst habit for 2025 in order to make space and time for much better things. But anytime it comes down to creating a new habit or breaking a habit, it is easier said than done. And when I was reading the book Atomic Habits, one of the things that he was saying that could help you get rid of a bad habit was either to replace it with something else or to make it like more inaccessible. And this is the route that I have chosen for me. For my phone, as I was telling you, I am going to create like phone work hours. So basically have specific times for me to go on my phone, but also I'm going to put it away from me in another room completely, so that anytime that I am like tempted to reach out for my phone and get on it, well, it's just going to be so much effort that it will just dissuade me in the end. The next step to resetting for a new year is tying up any loose ends that you might have. So I don't have much to say on that topic other than the fact that I just don't like to carry any type of burden in the new year, right? I like my new year to start fresh and clear and like, very light. And for that, I want to really kind of like tie up any unfinished business back in 2024 so that I can really have this clean slate in 2025. What I mean by that is, for instance, if I am reading a book right now, I want to make sure that I am finishing it by 2024 because I want to start a new one in 2025. Same for my administrative and tax, financial stuff. I want to make sure that I am done with all that business before, so that I do start 2025 on a clean slate. The next one is to reorganize and declutter your spaces for the next year. This applies for both your physical and digital spaces. What you want to do in your physical space is really to reset it fully, which means go through all your stuff and find out the things that you want to keep that you're still using and the things that you might want to get rid of or donate, because you want to make space for better things in the new year. For me, it's been 3 years now where every year I am moving out from one place and moving into another on December, and that is just perfect timing for me because that gives me this opportunity to really go through all my things and decide what I'm going to keep and what I am going to get rid of or donate. For next year, I do have this desire of taking more time to make my place homier, and I'm very excited about this. I've always been someone that would buy something because it's practical, because it fulfills a purpose. Like I would have just a random glass to hold my toothbrushes in my bathroom, for instance. Whereas really I could have a really nice set that would elevate my space altogether, but still fulfill that purpose. I don't know if that makes sense, but when I'll be out and about and buying stuff for the house, I do want to have that in mind. I do want to create this little sanctuary in my home that I am super happy to go back to, and that at the end of the day is very comforting for me. Anyways, that was a lot of rambling about the physical space. Moving on to the digital space, what you want to do is really the same but with your computer and your phone. For my phone, I like to go through my photos and really delete a bunch of them. I like to go through my apps and see which ones I am still using and which one I haven't even opened for a year, and delete them out of my phone. But also on your computer, I would really go through all my folders, reorganize everything nicely, make sure that the labels make sense. I really have to sort out my downloads and my screenshots because they're just taking a life of their own at this point. And I know that's going to free a lot of space on my computer. Next step is creating your vision board. I feel like everyone just is looking forward to create a new vision board every time December hits. And that is my case as well. But what I want you to think about when you're creating your vision board for next year, this time, okay? You want to be really real with yourself. You want to make sure that what you are putting on there is what you want and not what you want to want, okay? Not what everyone else is wanting and not what everyone else will approve about. I want to make sure that you are very honest with yourself and that you're only putting on there what matters to you. Okay, so what are you gonna do? And I find this is really helpful, is to close your eyes and really imagine yourself 3 years down the road and kind of see how your life would look like, how you would feel, right? This would be kind of your vision, but also this is going to give you a very clear direction as to what your main focus is going to be. If you see yourself on top of the world of this big company, the next CEO, then your main focus is going to be your career and climbing that ladder, right? And if you see yourself just having this beautiful family in this beautiful home, then your main focus is creating this environment for your family. Once again, you just want to really make sure that you are clear on what it is that you want, Sometimes I feel like people say they want something just because it's going to be very popular of an answer to the group that they're with. You know what I mean? Sometimes maybe you saying that, oh yeah, I want to be a doctor because you know that your dad and your mom are going to be like, wow, I'm so proud of you, my daughter. This is such a great choice. But in reality, maybe that's not exactly what you would like. So yeah, just be clear on what it is that you want and not what you want to want. Another great way to kind of get clear on your goals is to ask yourself what it is that you want to be celebrating at the end of 2025. This time next year, what is it that you want to be celebrating with your friends? So now that you have your overall vision, you want to get super specific on what it is that you need to do to get there, and those are going to be your kind of like your short-term goals. Next thing, you're going to put that all in Pinterest one by one and scroll through the pictures until you find something that is really going to resonate with you. The biggest mistake that I think people do when it comes to creating their vision boards is that they try to make it aesthetic. They try to make it so that it resembles someone else's really nice like vision board that they've seen on TikTok or Pinterest. But the truth is, a vision board is the most personal thing. And if it's not aligned 100% to you, well, it won't work. So when you are scrolling through those pictures on Pinterest, sometimes, I promise you, you're going to be called out. Like some imagery is going to stir something up in you. And that means, this is the right one for you. This is aligning with your frequency and it's aligning with what you really want. And those are the pictures that you want on your vision board. At the end of the day, when you were closing your eyes and really imagining your dream life, 3 years down the line, you probably had this warm, joyful, and fulfilling feeling. And that's exactly the emotion that you want to feel every time you are watching your vision board. And so this is why picking out the pictures that goes on your vision board is super crucial. Because if you're choosing to go the aesthetic route that just is very pleasing to everyone, this is not going to feel very special to you. Whereas if you really take the time to find the pictures that call you out, that stir up something within you, then this is when it's really going to work. I like to make sure that my vision board has my very specific goals, on them, but also kind of has little blips of my greater vision, of 3 years or 5 years vision, because it kind of is a reminder as to what I am striving for at the end of the day and what I am working towards. This is obviously such a fun exercise to do, and it's such a beautiful way to kind of tie a bow on the past year before opening up this whole new beautiful chapter of your life. So take your time with it, have fun, put some music on, and really create this atmosphere for you to create this beautiful vision for yourself, right? It's going to be very significant for next year's success. So now that we have this vision, it's not going to happen on its own. You need to take action. And the way that we're going to do it is not by setting goals, but by setting systems. I started doing that I think a couple of years ago. I stopped writing out my goals like they were a grocery list shopping, okay? I started setting systems instead, and I just find that they just work so much better because you have a full control on what they are. So for instance, let's say that one of your goals would be to, I don't know, make a certain number of sales for your small business next year, right? Unfortunately, that is really not up to you. That is up to how your customers are going to buy your products or not. But what you can do and how you can make it all about you is to basically define the set of actions that you'll need to take on a daily or weekly basis for you to reach that goal. So that might mean that you need to send out an email every 3 days, or you need to make a certain number of calls every day. You get it, but it's basically the set of actions that will set you up for success on a weekly or daily basis, right? For me, for instance, let's say that my goal would be to reach a certain number of subscribers by the end of 2025. Unfortunately, that is not all up to me. That is kind of up to YouTube and how it will be feeding me to its audience, right? But what I can do and what is fully relying on me is my number of videos that I'm putting out every week. So I can have a system where I'll be making sure that I am being able to put out 2 videos a week. And this way I know that I am putting all the chances on my side to reach that goal eventually. Now, even if I don't reach it at the end of next year, I won't be fully disappointed with myself because I would still know that I did do those 2 videos a week every single week. And so, it's just bad luck on my side. I am sure you get my point, but basically setting goals is a much harder way for you to keep track and measure your actions every single week. And it is therefore a harder way for you to improve yourself every single week. Whereas if you're setting systems for yourself, then you know exactly where you have succeeded and where you have failed, and you know where you can improve for the next week. All right, those were my steps to fully resetting before 2025 to make it your best year yet. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I'll see you soon for another one.